All right, so we have a lot of cool stuff going on in this one. He is utilizing the Tritone sub 2.5, which we've talked about in a couple of other lick videos. And he is doing this over night and day. This is actually from an album featuring him and Carmen Landy, a vocalist. And it's kind of like a hidden gem of an album that I just stumbled upon on YouTube. I'll put the link in the comments, but it's an amazing album. They do a lot of standards, so if you want to hear Kenny Kirkland play over some standards, it's a cool album for that. It's got a great lineup. Also has Rodney Jones on guitar, who is an incredible guitar player if you haven't checked him out. And he does this over the 251 in night and day, so they do it in the key of C. And we start up here, just do a straight D minor arpeggio. So the fingering I'm doing, because of where I'm going afterwards, I'm doing my pinky on A, pointer finger on F, and then I actually use my ring finger on the D. So pretty straightforward, just a D minor arpeggio outlining the 2-chord. Then this cool little slur thing. So right here, I'm putting my middle finger on the C note on the 2nd string. Then I hammer on to D with my pinky and I pull back off. And then my pointer finger is going to go to G on the 3rd string. So that's why I'm just using my ring finger right there. Kind of just sets it up better to get into that next part. So if we look at all that, like I said, D minor arpeggio, and then right here, this little slur, it goes from the flatted 7th up to the root, back to the flatted 7th, and then on the bottom we played the 4. So that's a really cool sound. And now right here is where we get to the Tritone sub 2.5. So what he plays... So what's going on there in terms of the Tritone sub 2.5 is, right, we have D minor, and now rather than thinking G7, he's doing the tritone sub, but he's adding the 2-chord of the tritone sub. So to briefly explain what that means is tritone sub of G7, you just go a tritone away, that's D flat 7. So if you wanted to also add the 2-chord to that, pretend like this was part of a 2.5, right? The 2-chord would be A flat minor, and then you go to D flat 7. So really, the tonality that he's thinking over is more like this. Right, like a quick 2-5, D minor, G7, A flat minor, D flat 7. And when you look at the notes that he's playing over the 5-chord, it completely lines up within this A flat minor, D flat 7 thing, because he starts like this. He starts with an A flat minor arpeggio. So pinky on E flat on the 2nd string, pointer finger on B, and then middle finger on A flat. So straight A flat minor arpeggio. But then this part right here is really where you can see the D flat 7 change. Right there. That's like a textbook little bebop line that you would do to you go into like a 2-5. So right there, if we look at that, pointer finger on G flat, hammer onto A flat with your ring finger and pull back off. And then ring finger goes to E flat. And then the pointer finger is going to go to F. So that just completely lines out this sound. Right. So when we land on that note right there, it's like the 3rd of the D flat dominant 7 chord. So now we have... Alright, so a really cool sound. And he's actually also anticipating that 5 chord. So, because he goes 1, 2, 3, 4. He actually starts on beat 4 of the D minor chord to anticipate the G7 chord. Now, the way that we wrap up after we do this little slur thing to get to the D flat 7, this is really cool. So after you hit the F, then you put your pinky up on A flat. So I'm thinking of all of this now at this point is just like D flat 7. So it's the 3rd, and then the 5th of D flat. And these last 2 notes right here are really cool. So he goes E to F. Now, if you look at that against D flat 7, I would just think of that as like a little chromatic note, a half step below the 3rd. And to me, that made the most sense when I was kind of analyzing what's going on over that part. And then after that, we go to our C major 7 chord, and he does a little just descending arpeggio, pointer finger on E, middle finger on C, middle finger on G. So that's a C major arpeggio. And then goes down to F. And that's normally kind of like a bizarre note to land on, the 4 of the major, but he's actually leading to like a key change going into the bridge of night and day, so it kind of like what follows it kind of makes more sense, but just in the context of ending on a 2-5-1, we end with that F note. All right, so just to quickly review everything we went over, he starts with just a minor arpeggio over the 2 chord, D minor, little slur from the flatted 7th to the root, down to the 4. All right, and then on beat 4, we anticipate the G7 chord with a tritone sub 2-5. So over the G7, he's thinking A flat minor 7, D flat 7. So we do an A flat minor arpeggio. Then we do this little slur. As for A flat 7, I would think of that as a flatted 7th root, flatted 7th 5th, to get to the 3rd of the D flat 7 chord. Alright, so really cool line, a lot of great vocab in that, and I've been looking for a Kenny Kirkland line to do for the longest time, but he uses so much of the range of the piano that a lot of his stuff is actually kind of tricky to line up on the guitar, and he uses the upper register a lot too, so a lot of times you have to just go down an octave, like even this line, I believe he's doing it an octave higher than where I played it, so a lot of it doesn't always line up the greatest on the guitar, but I'm glad I was finally able to find one because Kenny Kirkland has always been one of my all-time favorite piano players, and I wish there was more music of him out there because he's so unique, so innovative, and has such an original sound, and, you know, I can't say enough good things about him. But that's our lick for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. And if you would like to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/MikeGaudetteMusic. And that's it. I will see you guys at the next episode. Take care.